Hey, this is Gumbot, aka Gumchain, doing a video commentary of my Mythic Reclear of Jaina. And I'll be pausing the video to show what's going on, and basically the purpose of this video is just to try and explain what I've been trying to tell you guys on my Warlock, like how we do Jaina and why I think the fight can be a lot easier than we're making it. So, we don't do the phase 1 boat any particularly, we don't do it differently than any other guild does in the world, just basic stuff. So I dropped Spirit Link Totem here just simply to pad, because I just get spouting spirits on the tank, and because I know if I pop it during any other time during phase 1, I won't have it up for when we leave transition into phase 2, and I absolutely need Spirit Link for there. So I just do it just to pad and to make sure I don't get tempted by using it somewhere else. So you can see we have our hunter solo the ballistas, and if you're watching down here, you can see him. He's gonna freeze. Oh, he got frozen. Wait, no, he just stands in fire when he's about to get frozen, and that's how he doesn't need the whole raid babysitting him. And I never even realized he was doing this, but because it was never an issue on progress. We didn't have a single pull where our hunters were getting frozen, really. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's that hard of a thing, but whatever. It's phase 1 is phase 1. I'm just doing a little of the damage. I'm not really healing the tanks because shaman healing of a tank is absolutely atrocious. So here's the first blizzard, and I constantly open my bags, by the way. The first blizzard plus its avalanche. So I'm going to pop every single healing cooldown. I use APT, Ancestral Protection Totem. I use Spirit Walker's Grace as I run into melee, and I drop Healing Tide. Just so I can get them on cooldown and also, protect people in what I consider the most threatening part of phase 1. And I drop my APT in the middle of the boat so that, sort of towards the back actually, because people who get frozen running avalanche, if they do get frozen, it has a good chance to save them. It did sort of help this warrior who got frozen. If he had taken any more damage, he would have died, and that would have been a good ancestral protection totem, a really excellent one. Saved us a battle res, because I won't be using this APT until the final phase, just to save one of our tanks. As you can see, our hunter was freezing and he ran in. He's just soloing it all by himself. What a champ.
So much damage in this
Complaining here that people are taking damage because I couldn't understand where damage was coming from when all it was bombard. So we must have 7 people get hit by bombard. But here I make a big mistake. Apparently a bomb goes off while I'm standing in fire to try and avoid this avalanche, and I nearly kill myself. That was pretty fucking bad. So we drop a little mini darkness because we don't have a monk, and apparently we're not using Mass Dispel because that's, I don't know, our priests are lazy. So instead we just run into the fire, and people who dispel themselves. And, it's not a big deal. We don't need to use revival if you just know how to properly dip into the fire. So here's the second blizzard. You can see that our damage isn't that high. We don't even have to stop damage. Not even at all. Dip into the fire at the right time. So there, I try to dispel Vanubial. Someone else dispels him, or maybe he's actually in the fire and that's what gets him dispelled. But I waste my global on him, and because he's still in the fire, I go for the Riptide, which is actually a mistake, because then this Shadow Priest doesn't get dispelled, and he goes to 3 stacks. I tried to dispel him, someone else did, but if he had stayed at 2, he wouldn't have gotten his duration refreshed up to 3. And instead of being at 3, now instead of being at 0 rather, and his stacks clearing, he's going to be at 4. But luckily this priest is on the right side, the Shadow Priest is on the right side, and it's basically impossible to die on the right side. The left side is both harder to dodge, harder to heal, because you have to move more. And right here, I'm just going to stop looking at my frames, and the way I actually heal this is I just target people who are in front of my character, and I just Spirit Walker's Grace, spam chain heal. Like, these people could be at 100% health, they could be at 30% health. I have no fucking idea because I'm not even looking at my frames. I'm just looking at their characters in front of me. Just spam a chain heal with a cloudburst down. And it is sort of important that I spam them here because I want everyone to be topped as we go into the final phase. Or not the final, this phase. We quickly get over. I drop Spirit Link Totem with the Spouting Spirits trait, and we use Salvation. It's a gigaton of healing. And we all instantly attack the barrel. There's no hesitation in killing the barrel. Just spamming. Things are getting really hairy. We make it out of it okay. So if you look at like how much goddamn healing is actually happening at that stage 2 at that point, and how important that Spouting Spirits is, you can see Spouting Spirits is 1 global 930k, almost a million healing, and it double dips into Cloudburst. That's essentially why shamans are good, and they have to be resto in order to get that Spouting Spirits trait. They have to have, they can't be being IP, basically, is what it is. So Salvation plus Spirit Link Totem is carrying that phase, that portion of the fight, and it's necessary. Right here, I go to the Ordnance just because I'm preparing to get Broadside, just in case I have it. I won't freeze, but I get spooked by the Icefall, and I'm like, oh shit, I better run away from the Icefall. But I get Broadside, I have to run back, and the Icefall is directly aimed at the Ordnance. But you can just stand slightly off to the side, like all of us are doing here, drop it off, and you'll be completely fine. Now you can see that we have, this is Siegebreaker 1 coming out, and we don't use a single cooldown. Our Warlock also makes a big mistake in running his Siegebreaker through the Icefall. So you see, everyone's completely capped when this thing drops. Everyone's at max HP. You don't need any cooldowns for this Siegebreaker. It's a complete joke. Yeah. Now the damage is starting to ramp up a bit, and the raid's just called for cleaving, meaning the melee cleave onto the barrel. So you'll see the melee start to break off and start attacking the Ordnance, because we want the set to clear our tank stacks. You'll see that one of our tanks is going to complain that the other tank's not taunting.
I too can read my sticks fall off.
He's basically trying to babysit our Guardian Druid tank, because I think this is our Guardian Druid's tank first time ever doing this fight. This guy is actually a healer, but one of our tanks couldn't make it, so we had one of our healers tank.
3, 2, 1.
Beware.
So bait.
Dances your am here. When we leave.
So I call for an innervate, but I don't get it because I kind of I say it too meekly. Plus, I usually get innervate later in the fight, so I don't think our druid was ready for it. So we see where the Icefall is. I get Broadside, and I want to go, like, I want to take the gate, but I get fucking jebaited by some warlock who put like a terrible goddamn gateway on top of the other gateway. And here we pop Rally, Divine Hymn, Defensives. I use Healing Tide Totem with Blood Fury, whatever Blood Fury is. Plus we use AM, and we're going to use Darkness. I don't actually get inside of the Darkness. It's like I stopped too soon. And look how fucking low everybody is with all those cooldowns running. Like, it is an insanely hard part of the fight. Our priest gets frozen because he didn't want to stop moving after he cast Divine Hymn. He probably also got jebaited by the gateway. He probably didn't take it. So I'm just fucking spamming the shit out of the raid with that goddamn chain heal. So we make it out okay. It's fucking a lot of healing by me. If I ever close my bags, you can probably see that I'm pumping on the meters. There I am. Just destroying. Our Holy Paladin, one of our Holy Paladins died too. Just standing in the barrel, which is pretty stupid. I didn't fucking use my goddamn spirit walkers. I've been playing. I didn't use Spirit Walker's Grace. Usually I would use Spirit Walker's Grace as I'm running to the final ordinance, but because I got fucked around by the gateway and getting the broadside, I just forgot.
Wall now. Start moving towards the wall, guys. Stay as a group. Ranged, get ready to hard focus Jaina. We're going to be lusting. All ranged except for Zoli's on Jaina. Let's go.
So I make a mistake here in that I flame shock Jaina, and I don't have time to even flame shock Jaina because we have little damage on the wall, and I don't have flame shock now on the wall, so I can't lava burst it. Because I didn't get interrupted.
Everyone's on elemental.
Yeah, I'm also really low on mana. We have a different
So it'll just
comp
make
than we
you
usually
stay
do.
stacked here unless you have Heart of Frost. Otherwise you're on
So it's really important to be stacked on this fight,
Full rain on skull. Heart of Frost
so that
to the left.
in this phase rather, so that the Heart of Frost can actually dip in and out to avoid getting frozen. Now this person who gets frozen, I don't think they've ever done the fight before. They've never seen this phase, so
Move ahead of that. Move ahead.
they get frozen. It was pretty bad.
Okay, get these elementals.
Now it's kind of like a blessing in disguise that I didn't use Spirit Walker's Grace
You get to come back to the skull.
getting to the third ordinance, because I have it up now and we're actually like giga fucking a raid with hearts here because we have a lot lower damage than we usually do. Those elementals lasted for fucking ever. Right now I'm sort of pumping with Spirit Walker's Grace, and it's basically impossible to heal during this phase if you don't have it. And once the elementals are dead, there's no healing anymore. You just have to remain as a group. So you can see me like trying to cast Chain Heal, but it's just not fucking happening. I'm actually getting my mana back, which is nice. And when we do kick this boss, I'm just going to be DPSing for like the first 30 seconds because there's no damage. Everyone's at 0 stacks.
So stay on skull. And everyone
So
hard
it'll
stack
just
skull.
fall a skull for the
Just
entire-
casting Lightning Bolt because it's my only DPS spell that doesn't cost any mana.
Orb.
We have our raid leader calling for like everyone's just stacking on top of skulls so they don't have to think at all. I start to heal again when the broadsides come out, which is probably too early, but it's okay, I guess. I couldn't hear the tank fucking call for that APT.
I dropped my fucking
Skull,
Octone.
stay with skull, guys. Stay with skull. Cleave that image.
Luckily, I know when he's supposed to die, so I casted it at the right time. This is like where the inexperience of our
Before Ray.
Guardian Druid comes into play. He should be dying right now too, but he doesn't, and instead he gets frozen. And this causes me to panic because I've never seen 2 icicles come out. I decide to drop Spirit Link because I'm just worried and I want to do as much healing and damage reduction as possible. But this also debates my Demon Hunter into dropping. It baits him into dropping Darkness because usually we would want that Darkness and as well as my Spirit Link for this Siegebreaker that's coming in. And you'll notice that this Darkness was cast on the last Siegebreaker. I was debating, or I was talking, I've been trying to convince that priest who G-kicked, or who G-quit, to use Barrier, and he said, no, you can't, it's a 3-minute cooldown, it won't be up for the final Siegebreaker. It is definitely up for the final Siegebreaker, that's a 3-minute cooldown on Darkness that he used there, that he also used on Siegebreaker 2. And that's the end of the fight if you live that Siegebreaker. And you can see, I'm going to go to the logs. You see the healing. So, and it's not because we have 2 Demon Hunters. This Demon Hunter never even cast Darkness. That was pretty stupid of him to never cast it all phases. 0 healing by this Demon Hunter through Darkness. This Demon Hunter won 1 million. You can see his Darkness healing. Here's the baby Darkness healing of the flames. And you can see phase 2. That yeah, this is Darkness healing. Darkness healed for it only healed for 240k on the really hard Siegebreaker right before the wall, basically because like half of the raid wasn't even in it. I wasn't in it, me included. Like, you know, a ton of people didn't make it there in time because it is hard to get to that place, and I think the gateway fucked us up. But then you see in stage 3, that does darkness for 630k. That is probably more than my Healing Tide did in the final phase. Yeah, my Healing Tide did like half. Divine Hymn. Healing Tide, it was better than Divine Hymn and Healing Tide. That darkness. It's so good. And you can definitely use it at all the most important parts during the fight. Which is, if you want in phase 1, that's not important. But this is probably the most threatening siege breaker. And then this is the second most threatening siege breaker. But this right here, right before the wall, or right before the 3rd ordinance, where everyone's getting fucking destroyed, this is really important. Like if you look at, let's look at casts, you can just see how much shit is happening at that 530 mark. You can see that's Healing Tide Totem at 530. That's Rallying Cry at 530, probably from both of our warriors. Yep. Where the fuck is Aura Mastery? That's Aura Mastery from this paladin. Let's see if the other paladin casts it too. That's Aura Mastery from this paladin. So that's 2 Aura Masteries, 2 Rallying Cries, Darkness, Healing Tide Totem. Where the fuck is Divine Hymn? Divine Hymn, I don't know why says 7 casts, but the Divine Hymn and Darkness, it's literally so much shit. And then if you look at this point in the fight, you see how fucking low everybody is. Everyone's so goddamn low, even with all that shit running. So should just use it all, whatever you have here, because it will all be up for the final siege breaker, which is the scariest one. If you check, see here, people are casting again on that final siege breaker. Should probably just look at you can even see the damage taken. I think this is Siegebreaker. This is what is called cannons. Here's Siegebreaker 1. I don't know what the fuck this is. This is Siegebreaker 1, this is Siegebreaker 2, and this is Siegebreaker 3. Siegebreaker 2 and Siegebreaker 3 are more than 3 minutes apart. Okay, yeah, there you go. These two are very close together, but this one literally does nothing. We have a lot less damage taken here because some people are actually using personals. Personals plus darkness plus, well, 2 AMs for one. And I guess the same cooldowns are used here. And these are more than 3 minutes apart. Alright, thanks for watching.